The committee will come to order. The Oversight Committee exists to secure two fundamental principles. First, Americans have a right to know that the money Washington takes from them is well spent. And second, Americans deserve an efficient, effective government that works for them. Our duty on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee is to protect these rights. Our solemn responsibility is to hold government accountable to taxpayers, because taxpayers have a right to know what they get from their government. We work tirelessly in partnership with citizen watchdogs to deliver facts to the American people and bring genuine reform to the Federal bureaucracy. This is our mission. This morning we will review the enormous task confronted in the Gulf as a result of the BP oil spill and the Obama administration's choices made then and to this day. It is clear that this was a man-made disaster, that 11 people died in what should not have happened. But it's the choices after an initial event that we will focus on today. That is not to take away BP's ultimate responsibility, but this committee reviews government actions both prospectively and retrospectively. We cannot expect to do a better job next time if we do not focus on what was done right and what was done wrong in this disaster. The government made several decisions under its authority. One of them was not to use the Stafford Act and, in fact, to leave the very entity that created this pollution in a position of authority and lead. There are many reasons this may have happened, but we have to ask, should it happen again? Congress has the clear power and authority to change the rules of the road. We should not have to choose between holding a polluter responsible and empowering leaders at the Federal, State, and local level to do what they are responsible to do on behalf of their citizens. The reimbursement for actions directly and indirectly belongs to British Petroleum. They have said they will meet that challenge, and we will hold them to it. But as the days and weeks went on after an initial spill 40-some miles out at sea, it became obvious that we lacked the resources in place to do the job that was coming. The response was slow and chaotic. Additionally, we will hear from testimony today that the secondary damage turned out to be, in many cases, far worse than the little or no oil that came to the shores of communities. That is part of what we have to deal with here today. Oil spills and other events are inevitable. In my hometown of Cleveland, more than 60 years ago, a liquefied natural gas container went bad and many died. It has not stopped us from resourcing and using natural gas here in America. 3 Mile Island is still in the memory of people my age. It has not stopped us from using nuclear fuel as a primary source for base load. Coal miners, to our dismay, continue to die trying to harvest that fuel around the world. It is a necessary part of our society that dangerous jobs are done by people who choose to do them and have a right to be protected in that process. But this hearing is not about the riskiness of any of these fuel sources. It is, in fact, about whether the Federal Government knows better this time than they did before this event. Additionally, it is important for us to understand that just as Hurricane Katrina told us that FEMA had problems working with states, FEMA was not necessarily ready for a loss of vast areas of response. We now know that even when all the response capabilities were in place, even when it was a single event of a company that did not do their job and did not play properly by the rules, we find secondary events throughout the area. We find oil coming ashore and not being responded to for a number of reasons. We additionally find a loss of revenue in unrelated areas. We will hear from our second panel and from our first that the loss of tourism was needless and extreme in areas in which the water was clean, the shore was pristine, and in fact, people were scared away. We need to make sure that does not happen again. We need to make sure that governors and local officials are empowered to do what is in the best interest of their people, and that the American people get a fair understanding of the scope of any problem or spill. Lastly, we will hear today that as a result of one reckless action, we find countless billions of dollars of revenue lost, good, hardworking Americans out of work, resources necessary to make us less oil reliant on countries that often are not friendly to us, leaving for the very countries that in fact will now produce the oil that we are forced to buy. In America today, both sides of the aisle talk about jobs. I, for one, am not an economist, but I can understand that if $400 billion worth of purchased oil were produced here in America, there would be countless millions of direct and indirect jobs available to Americans. There are many things that we are not competitive on here in America. Certainly one of them we are competitive on is natural resource extraction from our coastal waters and onshore locations. I look forward to hearing from my old friend and a considerably well-known figure to all of us and a great governor, Governor Barbour. And with that, I recognize the gentleman from Maryland.